Purchase your raffle ticket today and win a new truck in our Drive Away for Education truck raffle.
We have our mental break now, and now we're ready to start talking football again. We did want to go ahead and show you, if you missed any of them, we know we went over them on our big mega review on TFT, but if you only watch WTF, great. We'll go over them again with y'all there, too. So we'll throw this up real fast. These are the 12 Texas High School Football State Championship games. They were played December 14th through 17th at beautiful AT&T Stadium. It was an unbelievable time. As always, the DCTF crew, our Texan Live crew, everyone, the Bally crew, I mean, we all teamed up with the UIL to try and bring the best event that we could, and I think that it went as well as it could have. Running through the scores real fast that you can see here, 1A Division II, we kicked off with a 45 by Benjamin, 68-20 over Lorraine. That one was very, very fun in the first quarter, and then it got to get away from them there. 1A Division I, another 45, a 69, a nice 69 from Westbrook over Coach Terry Crawford and his Abbott Panthers. A great season for them, coming up just short there in the state championship game. And then I would say one of the more shocking results of the weekend was 2A Division II. We ended this, and it's funny because the score isn't super close, obviously. 41-21, Albany took down Mart, and I would say that regardless of what the score was, if Albany would have kept scoring, this still would have been a really, really fun game to watch, because we just didn't expect that.
Right.
And I'm sure there's people in the big country right now screaming at me going, no, we knew. And that's perfectly fine. Everything, pulling back the curtain, everything that I had heard, and I had been on coaches' calls that entire week with stuff with Bally. I had been, we had talked to a bunch of coaches that had played these two teams. Everyone said that this Mart front, for both the offensive and defensive line, was one of the best ones they've ever had. And I think that we saw that that's a really good offensive and defensive front. But what we saw was Albany have experience that really, really meant something to them. And they just, they bullied that Martin defensive line. It was really genuinely impressive.
It was so shocking. I mean, because I had gone down to the sideline to get some content and just I was on the Holly sideline too, or Holly, excuse me, I was on the Albany sideline, but just being down there and like seeing the hope and like the excitement from them when really I can honestly say everybody pretty much doubted them against this extremely talented Mart team. It was really cool to see and like be in that atmosphere and hear what they were saying. We could do this, and it was really cool.
Well,
really
and a huge congratulations to Coach Denny Faith. That was his first ever state championship in 36 years. And the coolest thing in my mind with that is the fact that all those 36 years have been at Albany.
Yeah, that's wild.
That's awesome. 36 years as a head coach, to finally grab that and bring that back to that community, that's really huge, because you hear of a lot of coaches that, yes, they've been a head coach for 36 years, but they've bounced around forever.
They've won a championship here and there,
Albany never gave up. They've been in state championship games before. Coach Denny Faith had been out on that stage before and hadn't been able to finish it off. For him to finally finish it off, and the smile on his face at the end of it when they showed him on the big screen, I teared up a little bit. It was just, you could see that after 36 years of sticking with it. How many people stick with something for 36 years nowadays?
People don't stick with their New Year's resolutions for a month.
For 36 days.
You're right, exactly.
Much less that. So really, really cool for him. It was a cool way to see that end.
Yeah.
Then Thursday morning action. This one, you want to call it a shocker again. Holly 54, Refugio 28. Now, I will say this. I was on the call with Coach Jason Herring leading up to this game with Bally, and in typical Jason Herring fashion, he goes, "Now listen here, Hoss. If he calls you Hoss, you've made it. Like, you're in the good graces of Coach Herring. Great guy." He was like, "We're a year early." He was like, "I didn't expect us to be here." Refugio had like 11 players on their team that were starting that were freshmen or sophomore. They are young.
That's crazy.
Young. On the other side of that, Holly had been to the state championship last year. They fell to Shiner. They came back, and Austin Compton had a ridiculous game. He missed the state championship game last year because he basically, to put it in layman's term, he broke his back. He had 2 different vertebrae break.
Oh my golly.
Yeah, it's T4 and T5, I believe.
That's nuts.
And so, yeah, it was one of those
Light
things. They didn't know if he was ever
injury,
going to be able to play football again because
Right.
that's in the, if you don't know how your back works, that's the upper thoracic vertebrae. And so that means it's the upper part of your back into, that starts affecting your neck if you start
Yes.
going anywhere
you
higher
don't
than
want to
that.
mess with that. Yeah.
So to come back, I mean, him, Will Scott, Rhodey Hooper, an unbelievable team with senior leadership, and they went out there and, to be honest, they just pummeled Refugio.
Yeah.
There was never even a doubt. Some of those was more like garbage time. Holly, an unbelievable win there. 3 Division II, Gunner absolutely rolls over Post. Congratulations to the Pirates. That is their first ever touchdown scored in a state championship, though. So that's huge. They did play in a state championship not too long ago.
Was it
couple
2020?
No, a couple years, like handful of years ago, but they got shut out. So that was their first score. That's exciting. But the Gunner train, there was
They just kept
never
on
a doubt.
rolling. Yeah.
That one was one we were starting to have to wake ourselves up a little bit. But congratulations to Coach Jake Fazell and everything that he did. And a big shout out to Ethan Sloan. We love his mom, Sloan Kasky.
Yes.
But Ethan has been a really fun player to watch for the past 3 years. So
And want to go out on like a high note too.
Absolutely.
So good
Yeah.
for them.
Gunner train was rolling. 3 Division 1. This was the first actual really close, exciting game. Franklin kicks a game-winning field goal to claim their second consecutive title over Brock. This one was really stinking fun. And this one, it's funny, my dad was there, and he turned to me, and he had only ever been to state championship games. Last year was his first time coming, and he came for the big school games.
Yes.
So he had only seen that. He was dead determined he was coming for the small school games, so he was there for the kickoff of the 1A1. He went to almost all the games, and he said, Brock walks out, and he's like, oh, man, those are some big boys. And then Franklin walks out, and I see his eyes get big. He goes, oh, these are even bigger boys. And I was like, yeah, that's the funny thing. When you've only been watching the big school games, they're all grown men, basically.
Right.
You know, they're small man children.
Yes.
It's funny to watch when you start off with 1A Division 2. It is funny to see when 3 Division 1 starts rolling around. You're like, oh, okay, we're getting into the big boy territory now. But that one was an absolute
Especially
blast.
when you're on the sidelines too, and you start seeing the actual size difference of some of these boys.
Yeah,
and
literal,
you're
the build of the
men.
humans
Yes.
are just different.
Right, exactly. Like the size of the teams, and then also the actual men themselves.
But I think that if you would have told me that Jaden Jackson would have been the star of the show and not Bryson Washington.
As a sophomore too. I mean, what a star-studded kid.
Yeah, because we were like, oh,
that future is bright for that team.
Maybe once, Franklin will be really good again this year, but we'll be really interested to see who steps up after Bryson Washington graduates. We have our answer. Jaden Jackson is the dude.
And to have your breakout game be the state championship game too.
Light work.
I mean, that is light
No big
work.
deal.
That's scary.
Then we kicked off Friday with a 42 to goose egg. Yeah. Carthage. Wow. We had so many people. I had a lot of people in my DMs ask, what is it about this? Why does this happen? Are the matchups just not fair? Honest to God, I'm sorry. Wimberley is a really stinking good team. Wimberley being in the state championship was no fluke.
Right.
They're a very good, well-coached, high-performing ball club. Carthage is just that much better.
Right.
Honestly.
They are just a machine. They have the dudes, and they also have the size, too. I mean...
And Scott Surratt's a wizard on the offense.
I mean, he's just a fantastic scheme caller.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you just see, each play that he calls, it's so meticulously planned out. It is really impressive to see this team.
Yeah, I tweeted it out. I was like, you would think that watching Carthage do this to people would get old, and I'm going to be honest, it doesn't. There are some teams that I could watch just murder people time and time again, and it's like, all right, same thing. You know, it just happens the same way. Honest to God, being very honest here, I we love watching Katy because they're kind of the same way. I love watching Katy's defense. Katy's offense, they're just going to run the ball the whole time, and they don't need to change that.
Right.
They've been having success with that for years. But Carthage finds so many different ways to beat people that it never gets tiring for me to watch them.
Right. When you've got the dudes that can outplay you on the field and you're adding a coach that can absolutely out-scheme you as well, I mean, that is a recipe for success.
It really
There's no
is.
other way to put it. And that's exactly what happened there.
Then our middle game here was really stinking
That was
good.
awesome.
This was the other super close one. China Spring and Bernie, exact same thing as Franklin and Brock. China Spring, literally, I think almost from the same yard line. I think one of them was a 21-yard field goal and the other one was a 20. I could be wrong on that. But China Spring and Bernie, same side of the field, basically the same hash mark. China Spring kicks the game-winning field goal to win. Instant classic, so much fun. It looked like Bernie was about to run away with this game. They were up 21 to nothing. China Spring comes back with 24 unanswered points and the game-winning field goal. That one was so stinking fun.
Yeah, that's the difference between that Franklin Brock game and then this China Spring Bernie game, is that Franklin Brock game was pretty much close all the way up until the end, obviously, but we thought we were going to get another blowout with that China Spring Bernie game. We're like, not another. We just watched a game that was a complete shutout, a high-scoring shutout by one team. And we're about to get another one, and then sure enough, China Spring and that dang Cash McCollum comes back, and they win the game on a field goal. It was such a – that is exactly what we needed on Friday afternoon.
Yeah, we did.
Exactly what we needed.
Then we ended with 52-14.
Yes. The Aledo Bearcats.
The Aledo Bearcats just destroyed College Station. Aledo, they just didn't. College Station just didn't have an answer for them. I wondered if I thought this game would be a little bit closer. I knew that Aledo had more athletes, but College Station had a lot more size up front. That Aledo offensive and defensive line are tiny. Like, they are small humans, and they were missing one of their best offensive linemen. They were missing a couple key parts on their line that's already pretty small. So then when you add a key injuries with an already small line, I thought that College Station could hold it closer than this just based off of sheer size for College Station up front. But Aledo's defense stepped up in an unbelievable way in stopping what is his name? Marquise Brown? Adrian Martinez Brown, that's what it is.
Yeah.
The College Station running back.
Marquise Brown was like a hurt.
Yes. Marquise Collins was the one that got hurt. Shoot. Adrian Martinez Brown is there.
Almost got
that's what it is. But College Station did a really good job of stopping them. And then Saturday rolls around, and we had an interesting one against 5A in 5A Division 1. Sauk comes back, wins their second consecutive 5A title. And they become the first ever Dallas ISD school to win back-to-back state championships. That one was really fun. It looked like P&G had a pretty firm grasp on the game at the start, and we all start looking around going, man, I don't know if Sauk can do this, but in typical Sauk fashion, man, they found a way to fight and claw their way back. The interception by Manny Muhammad in the third quarter is what really started to seal the deal there. But a great win for Sauk. Congratulations to them again. And this starts our little train of our little 20-mile radius there in the southern part of Dallas, because DeSoto comes in and just completely takes over against Vandegrift. Vandegrift, congratulations to Coach Drew Sanders and his squad, only a 14th year varsity program. They make their first ever state championship appearance, and they held with them there at the beginning, and then the athletes kind of won out on that. DeSoto's defense figured out a way to get into the backfield, and it was basically over after that point. But congratulations to Coach Claude Mathis winning his first ever state title. And then we capped it off with the game of the weekend. As good as those other two were, this one was awesome.
This just had to take the cake. I was down on the sidelines for this one too. I was down on the Duncanville sidelines, and the last minute of the game, or maybe it was the last 2 minutes, North Shore had the ball and they're driving down, and you're like, they're about to tie this thing back up. And then Duncanville makes that fourth and like three?
3.
4th and 3 stop, right? And it had to be reviewed and stuff like that. They have to bring the chains out, right?
Yep.
They had to bring the chain gang
And
out
literally
and
by a
measure
clip.
it by a
Like a
clip.
I don't know
Yeah.
what those little clips are called, but literally the nose of the ball was at the edge of
Right.
the clip that is connecting the chain to the big pylon thing.
Right. And you see that measurement up on the big screen. And what you could see when every single one of those Duncanville players, Reggie Samples, the Duncanville fans realized that they were short and that they had it in the bag. They finally won one. They went wild.
Yeah.
It was such a cool atmosphere at that point.
It was awesome because we're sitting there, and I remember I'm standing up on the Bally set, and there's 55 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah.
And North Shore gets the ball.
Yeah.
And I look at Tepper, and I was like,
They're
Duncanville
they're
has
gonna
this
tie
game
it.
won. I don't feel comfortable with 55 seconds.
No.
I don't, because we've seen this Duncanville squad get their heart ripped out
Yep.
in the most excruciating fashion almost every single year that they've
Yep.
done this. And it was like, oh no. And you know what? John Kay, the North Shore sideline, they look relaxed. They look like we have them exactly where we want them. You're going to
David
give us
Amador
time.
looked really relaxed.
Yep,
Like
and
he
then
knows what to do in these situations.
It was David Amador had 2 runs. He's looking up. The routes weren't there. So he transitions
Takes
out
off.
of the pocket, takes off to the left, and the entire Duncanville defense is on the complete right side of the field. I mean, every single one of them. There was one safety probably about 30 yards back that was still on the right side of the hash, but he was probably the closest guy. David Amador takes off, and remember, he's a wide receiver.
Right.
Technically, he's playing quarterback, but he's a wide receiver. So if you want to talk about yards after catch, that dude's got wheels. And he takes off the first time, and I'm like, okay, they got him. Like, at this point, they're probably down to about the 40, maybe 50. And then he does it again. Exact same. Looks for the fly route on the outside. It's not there. Rolls back and takes off left. And I'm going, oh my goodness. Then the Duncanville defender, number 8, I can't remember what his name was.
Collins.
Yes, Collins, takes him face mask. And I'm going, you
The
just
massive
gave him
junior.
extra
Yeah,
yards.
right,
You know,
right.
and so it's like penalties from frustration start. David Amador's in his bag. Okay.
Right.
Penalties from frustration starts to come out, and I'm going, not this way. Don't lose this way. Like, if you're going to lose, that's perfectly fine. North Shore's an unbelievable team. David Amador played
But don't
his
lose
freaking heart out.
because of self-inflicted
Inflicted wounds. Exactly. Don't do it to yourself.
Right.
And then, they take it. We're sitting there, and I've got to show. I haven't even showed you yet. Samuel De Leon, one of our photographers, I just realized it today. He took a picture of Tepper and I up on the set, and our reaction to when the camera flicked to the thing. I have my mouth, like my hands over my mouth. Tepper's mouth is wide open. It's really cool, but what a way to end it. Congratulations to the godfather of DFW football. Coach Reggie Samples finally gets that last check mark. We've said it time and time again. He didn't need that to be seen
Right.
as the godfather, as a legend in the sport, but he got it, and so now he can feel good about that. I don't know if he'll retire. There hasn't been any sort of talk about it. I'm sure there's talk about it, but there's been nothing sort of official. I would be surprised personally if he came back after that. Like, I felt like that was the last big thing, kind of, all right, let's ride off into the sunset with that.
I would.
Maybe he knows that he's got enough people coming back that he wants to do it again. In my mind, I think at that point I would step back personally. But he nabs it. They finally end the AT&T Stadium curse. Really, really cool way to end it. And then obviously, as you see, South Oak Cliff, DeSoto, Duncanville, we got 3 DFW teams in South Dallas. I know they don't all consider themselves South Dallas, but in the southern part of Dallas, honestly, from a geographic standpoint, right along the I-20 corridor to claim that. Really, really stinking cool.
One of the coolest things I got to see, like I got to be right there for, was right after Duncanville had won. Everyone's going crazy. I walked onto the field, and I got to see South Oak Cliff head coach Jason Todd hug Reggie
Two-time.
Samples. Yes.
Oh,
I
wow.
got to literally see them hug, and like I looked right in Reggie Samples' eyes, and I could feel that kind of sense of relief. I feel like, from him,
Yeah.
but like just I could see how proud he was of his guys and himself, and I could see Jason Todd. I could see how proud he was just of Dallas, you know, what this represents for South Dallas. I mean, I almost teared up in that moment. I mean,
That's cool.
it was a really moving moment. Of course, there were a bunch of photographers there taking a picture and stuff. I think Will was there. He got the moment
Yeah.
on camera and stuff like that. But man, that was a powerful, powerful moment that I got to see right
well,
there.
yeah, and that's his mentor. I mean, that's Coach
Absolutely,
Todd's mentor, and he'll tell you
absolutely.
that. So that it's cool to see that. There's multiple things that are cool about that. It's cool to see all of those coaches support each other, knowing that they're all right there in the same area. Most of them compete throughout the year too. I mean, literally all three of those teams played each other
Right.
at a different part of the year. For Sauk, it was playing both of the teams in non-district, and for Duncanville and DeSoto, it was playing them in district. So to see that is really cool. But then to know that it goes even deeper than that, of mentorship and all of that stuff it's
It's pretty cool.